Take a look around your home. Can you be sure that every appliance is safe? Is everything a company tells you about a product true? And are you getting the best value for your money? With the help of the country's top experts, we're going to see what it takes to test the household products we use every day. We'll discover how they're pushed to their limits. We'll put the makers' claims on trial and show you how to make your money go further. You'll find these products in any ordinary house, but this is no ordinary house. And no ordinary street. This is the Watchdog Test House. Hello, we're deep inside one of Britain's leading science centres. Here at the Building Research Establishment, some of the products and materials that we use every day are put to the test to make sure that they're safe, environmentally friendly, and that they don't fall apart. Coming up on today's programme, car seats for kids. What can happen if they're not fitted correctly?
It didn't cross my mind that it wasn't going to keep him safe if we had had a crash.
How clean is your house? These liquids claim to kill 99.9% of bacteria. Not exactly what we found.
If it was up to me, I'd probably want to give that another clean again.
And killer tumble dryers, how Watchdog's campaign for smaller child-proof doors led to a safer design. Now, if you've got children or grandchildren, you'll know all about these child car seats. They are crucial for keeping your kids safe, which is why standards and testing in this area are being developed all the time. One of the biggest concerns, the way some seats are fitted to the vehicle. Get it wrong and the consequences could be unthinkable. Harvey Goulding was nearly 3 years old when he was involved in a car crash. He was in a car seat and his mother Rachel hoped he would be safe. He wasn't.
His car seat moved forwards, his knees hit the seat in front and the car seat crushed him from behind. When they told me that both legs had broken, I just felt numb. He was in a wheelchair for about 2 months with casts from his ankle to the top of his knee.
The seat, a Nania Trio Plus, had passed official safety tests, but the nature of Harvey's injuries suggested that it hadn't been fitted correctly into the car.
I fitted it how I thought was correct. I did everything I could to make sure it was secure, as any parent would. It didn't cross my mind that it wasn't going to keep him safe if we had had a crash.
Which magazine also found that fitting this seat properly can be tricky. According to their research, although the instructions are easy to understand, it's difficult to install due to the way it works with the seatbelt. The manufacturer, Team Tex, has told us they did not receive any direct complaint about Harvey's accident, but as soon as they were made aware, they tried to contact his mother to investigate. They say if the seat had been fitted correctly, the injuries would not have been sustained, and the seat has been modified as part of a programme of continuous improvement. But any car seat that's fitted incorrectly can put a child in danger. And here in Blackburn, where independent child safety advisors are carrying out roadside checks, many parents are getting it wrong.
50% of the seats that we're seeing, they're incorrect. But 77% of the faults that we're seeing of those, that they are fixable. Harnesses not fastened tightly, seat belts not being used properly. Those sorts of common things that we can sort out for people.
This driver has made one of the most common mistakes.
There's a huge gap down the back of the seat there. We need that seat to be having as much contact with that seat as possible.
The problem is that the car's headrest hasn't been taken out.
So we'll remove the head restraint and get a nice tight fit.
For younger children who are still in a harness, the key is nice and tight.
Pull it tight, 2 fingers in here, and if I can fold it, which I can, fold it over, it's still too loose. Keep pulling, struggling to fold it. There we go, that's perfect.
It's clear there's plenty of confusion about how to fit child seats correctly, but here's the good news. New safety standards called iSize are being introduced. They'll be phased in over the next few years, and one of the big changes is encouraging a shift towards the newer Isofix style seat that some manufacturers have already embraced.
Some cars and car seats use just the seatbelt to fasten themselves together. Now that's okay as long as you get it exactly right, and that's where a lot of parents are getting it wrong. The whole idea behind Isofix is that the seat is simple to fit. These two metal bars fix directly into the car seat, they lock on, and then when you see the green light, you're good to go.
The new I-size standards will mean other changes too. Children will be kept in a rearward-facing seat until at least 15 months, and they will be classified by height rather than weight. The new standard will also introduce stricter side impact testing. Some seats currently on the market may not pass this new test and could therefore no longer meet the highest standards of safety. What could that mean for your child? Later, we'll be heading to the Transport Research Laboratory to find out.
£3.5 billion. That's how much we spend on household cleaning products every year. And if they're going to part you from your money, they need to convince you with their promises. So do their products really wipe out virtually all bacteria, as they claim?
Well, Sophie, there's hand gels, kitchen surface sprays, toilet cleaners. No shortage of products claiming to kill at least 99.9% of bacteria. Now that's a tough ask, according to Dr. Laura.
These are massive claims because actually what it's worth remembering is that we are in contact with bacteria all the time. They're on our skin, they're in our hair, they're up our noses. They're just everywhere. Everything that we're touching is covered in bacteria.
Time to put some products to the test. Our subjects, 3 students, Nick, Harriet and Katie. Well, it's safe to say they all know a thing or two about the need for cleaning. Our products, 3 antibacterial hand gels, 3 kitchen surface cleaners, and yes, our least glamorous challenge, 2 toilet cleaners. All these types of products claim to kill 99.9% of bacteria or germs. First up, hand sanitising gels. For this test, our students need to get their hands dirty. So where better to send them than on the London Transport Network. It's estimated the average traveller comes in contact with at least 1,390 bacterial cells per square centimetre on every tube journey. I wonder what our students have managed to find on their trip.
They feel really dirty. You don't really think about it normally, but they feel really horrible now. I wouldn't want to touch anything.
First, Dr. Laura swabs each of their hands to establish the level of bacteria present before they apply the hand gel. She then gives each of them a different hand gel to use.
Now it feels so clean again.
She then swabs their hands again and places the samples into sterile containers. At the end of the day, all the swabs will go back to the lab for analysis. So, to our next test. Kitchen surface sprays.
Obviously there's quite a lot of you in this flat and you must find it quite difficult to keep things clean, is that right?
Because there's 5 of us, it does get quite difficult, especially when there's deadlines coming up.
Again, we're using 3 products, all claiming to kill 99.9% of bacteria. For this test, we need 3 kitchens, so we borrow a couple from around the halls of residence. Again, Dr. Laura swabs the kitchen surfaces before the product is applied to establish the level of bacteria present. The students then apply each of the sprays according to the instructions using a brand new kitchen cloth. Another swab is taken and these are also sealed in sterile containers before heading to the lab for analysis.
The kitchen's never been this clean.
Time for our final challenge, the toilet. For this we use 2 products. Go on, Laura, be brave.
So we're just going to go into the little toilet cubicle and we're going to take some swabs. It tends to be quite often where you get lots of bacteria.
Once all the toilets have been cleaned and swabbed, before and after the products have been applied, it's finally time to go back to the lab. Will all these products actually have killed 99.9% of bacteria in our test, as the labels promise? Find out later.
Now, look around your kitchen. It is full of appliances and gadgets with safety features we all take for granted. For example, your oven. It doesn't get dangerously hot on the outside. Or your tumble dryer. It's designed to prevent a child from getting stuck inside. But it hasn't always been that way. Here's Lynn Fallswood.
welcome to Watchdog. In tonight's programme, all these people have written to us. We also heard from the parents of this little chap, 5-year-old Daniel Byron. He and his 2-year-old sister Lucy were playing in the kitchen when he climbed into the dryer and Lucy closed the door after him. The year was 1989 and Watchdog was campaigning to make tumble dryers safer. Thank goodness their mum Sue was only seconds away and she says she was able to pull a near hysterical Daniel out of the machine. But in just those few seconds his back was badly burned. As our demonstration showed, it was far too easy for a child to climb into a tumble dryer. Children had actually died after closing the door on themselves and the machine left in mid-cycle, starting up automatically. Watchdog wanted smaller doors and a ban on dryers turning on when the door shut. But this change was slow in coming. Tumble dryers are much safer than they were in the 1980s, but it just took far too long to get design standards improved. As it did with another worry we highlighted on Watchdog. This time, oven doors. Oven doors that were dangerously hot on the outside and exactly the right height for passing toddlers' hands. I'd been warning about this for 10 years by 1992. By then, 7,000 children had been so severely burnt they needed hospital treatment. Children like little Andrew West.
They don't seem to be healing. The skin is very hard and it's sort of almost welded together. They're never going to heal completely, but they may be able to improve on how they are at the moment.
Now this is the West cooker. The temperature is now reading 115 degrees, so the outside of the West oven door is considerably hotter than a pan of boiling water, and it's all perfectly legal. It was legal because until the late 1980s, safety standards allowed oven doors to be hotter than boiling water. In 1989, that was brought down, but only to 100 degrees, still far too hot. Finally, in 1992, some manufacturers took action. In the last few days, several major cooker manufacturers have told me, because of our campaign, they're completely redesigning their oven doors, or have already done so. Today, the standard says glass doors should get no hotter than 80 degrees. But why did it take pressure from a programme like Watchdog to make such change happen, when products are legally required to be safe?
I think originally with things like cookers and any domestic appliances in the kitchen was felt very much to be a sort of no-go area for children. You don't have children in the kitchen, so if the outside of the door gets hot, you know it gets hot and you avoid touching it.
These days, manufacturers, retailers and safety organisations all work together to draw up the standards, and these are used by nearly all makers of domestic appliances as ways of making sure their products are safe. They're constantly evolving to keep up with changing products, and in the case of oven doors, changing times.
The discussions take place during the development of the standards to recognise, actually, this is being used in this way, we need to think about what will happen, and then the standards need to be set to ensure that those things don't happen.
Back in the 80s, lots of the machines we take for granted were pretty new, and design standards were struggling to keep up. But by the mid-1990s, the problems Watchdog exposed were less to do with safety and more with whether machines worked properly. In 1996, Watchdog visited a development in Bishop Stortford where the houses all had the same Whirlpool oven. But because of faulty door seals, it was better at heating the home than the dinner.
At Jamaica, number 11, it's 88 degrees centigrade. Over Trinidad, it's 94 degrees, and as you can see, palm trees are growing. At Tobago, it's 132 degrees and rising. While at the Isle of Skye, for some reason, it's still cold and wet.
In the end, Whirlpool agreed to compensate the hot homeowners. But perhaps one of Watchdog's more memorable domestic appliance stories was this one, Hotpoint washer dryers that ripped your clothes.
I ended up with holes in my jumpers, my husband's trousers, the legs were shredded completely. I suppose in total it would amount up to about £400 this machine has cost me in clothing alone.
Watchdog showed the problem with clothes getting caught in a gap between the drum and the seal, and Hotpoint's own paperwork confirmed it. But the company refused to accept responsibility or compensate customers fairly. This led to one of Watchdog's more famous campaigns, the washing line of shame.
So, until Hotpoint changes its tune, each week we'll bring you the latest line of washing torn in Hotpoint washer dryers. So, if your Hotpoint washer dryer is causing trouble, send us the evidence to place on the Hotpoint washing line of shame. We'll continue to embarrass Hotpoint until the company starts offering decent compensation.
The washing line returned week after week until Hotpoint eventually agreed to pay a standard rate of compensation. By the end of the campaign, 500 people had contacted Watchdog. You help to improve lots of things in our homes, and today not only are appliances much safer, they're more efficient too.
Now, we spend more than £3 billion a year on over-the-counter medication, from painkillers and antihistamines to cold and flu remedies. But with a wide range of products and prices, how do you know what's going to be most effective and worth spending more on? Well, Professor Jane Lawrence from the Royal Pharmaceutical Society is with us now to talk us through it all. There is a big difference in price, isn't there? Because you go to a shop or a chemist nowadays, there are so many on offer, but what is the difference between the branded products and the, let's say, supermarket branded products?
I think the first thing is there is a big difference with costs, but the customer should be reassured that regardless of cost, all their medicines are made to the same high standards, so they shouldn't be worried about that. So if you go into your pharmacy and you want perhaps a painkiller for back pain, you go and looking at 200 milligram ibuprofen. If you have a 200 milligram ibuprofen that is generic formulation and the same formulation that's branded, the patient actually won't see any difference in their effect. They'll effectively be the same.
They all certainly all look the same, because we've got a little pile here, haven't we? And those are branded and they are supermarket brands as well. You wouldn't know the difference.
No, they've both got a coating and they're acting exactly the same way.
What about the group of tablets that promise to work faster? Do they?
They are evidence-based. If you go in the lab and test them, they will actually work quicker. But the problem is we're so variable as humans, depending on what we perhaps eat in that day or whether we take our tablets with water or no water, and that can make just as much effect on how fast the tablets work. So probably most of us aren't going to see much benefit.
And what about the ones here that promise to target specific pain? So if you've got a backache, for example, or if you've got a headache, what is the difference between them?
Well, they will work where they say they work. So they will target the inflammation, for example, in your back, but you have to realise it will also act perhaps on your period pain. So that's quite important to realise, so that if you are taking a tablet for period pain and you have perhaps back pain, you don't take another tablet. Your tablet for period pain will probably work for your back pain.
Now, we spoke to the association who represent over-the-counter medication, and they say that all the claims on product packaging are evidence-based and they can be trusted. Let's look now at the placebo effect. I mean, is there one? Does that happen?
There is a placebo effect, and the placebo effect is incredibly strong, and I think it's important to realise if a patient feels the branded one is going to work best for them, it probably will work best for them, so they should use that if that's their preference.
Professor Lawrence, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back now to our household cleaning products. After our students' hands were swabbed, their kitchen surfaces scrubbed and their toilets sanitised, all the samples were sent to the lab for analysis. So did the products kill at least 99.9% of the bacteria present as they claimed? The results are in.
Yes, they are. And it's interesting stuff, Sophie. The swabs were put onto these plates, which helped to grow bacteria, and then placed in an incubator overnight. So, in our tests, will the cleaning products live up to their claims? If so, there should be little or no bacteria growth on the samples compared to the ones before the products were applied.
So we'll be able to have a look now, once we've examined the plates, to see whether those products that claim that they kill at least 99.9% of all known bacteria and germs are living up to what they actually claim.
Let's start with the 3 hand gels. How well did they perform in the battle against bacteria? Well, according to our one-off test, the product used on Harriet's hands killed 95% of the bacteria present. The plate on the left is the bacteria on her hands before the hand gel was applied. The plate on the right is after. As you can see, there are very few colonies present, so he did a good job. The product used on Katie's hands only killed 70% of the bacteria according to our test.
Oh my god.
That is so bad.
Product used on Nick's hands only killed 40% of the bacteria present in this one-off test.
40%, that's so low.
So, with one of the products killing 60% less bacteria than it claimed, it makes you wonder about those big claims on the front of the packaging. Next, the kitchen cleaners. Overall, according to the results of our test, they performed better than the hand gels. One product did in fact kill 100% of bacteria present. As for the other two, one killed 96% and the third product killed 92%. Not a bad result for those two. Still, not 99.9%.
There are still some bacteria there, and if it was up to me, I'd probably want to give that another clean again using the product in order to kill some of these that are left.
Finally, the results of the dreaded toilet test. One product in our test killed 99.4% of bacteria present, and the other removed only 84%, 15% less than it said on the label.
It was my toilet, so I was there, but we did exactly what the package said.
So, with our one-off tests complete, although the products did kill quite a lot of bacteria, only one product has appeared to deliver on their 99.9% promise. So, how are they allowed to make this claim? Whilst their claims are backed up with evidence, all their testing is carried out in strictly controlled laboratory conditions and not in the real world. The industry bodies that represent the cosmetic and cleaning products industries say this testing is robust and provides scientific evidence to back up the 99.9% claim, and that consumers can be assured that products which pass these tests will produce a safe surface when properly used. They say the testing carried out is what is required under European law, and that our testing was inadequate and falls far short and cannot be used as the basis on which to comment on product performance.
So while it's true that the companies use really robust conditions when they're undertaking the tests, and the tests are all done under really standardised conditions, which is great for us as a consumer because it means that we can compare products like with like and know full well that we're getting really good answers that way. It does have problems, and the problems are is that when we're using the products, we're not using them under these robust, standardised laboratory conditions. We're using them in real-life conditions. So the amount of bacteria that you're using could be variable, what you're using it on can be variable, and the way that we use it can be very variable too. And that, of course, is going to impact on the result that you get out at the end, having used that product.
Earlier we heard how new safety standards could now mean that some child car seats currently on the market may no longer meet the highest levels of safety. So how strict are these tests? Well, this is the place to find out. The Transport Research Laboratory in Berkshire. Today we'll be taking a mid-range booster seat for children aged between 3.5 and 12 through a range of tests to find out if it meets the latest standards and that all-important new side impact test.
We have dummies ranging from a newborn baby right up until a larger male. So this is the dummy we'll be using for the first test today. It's called a P3 and it replicates a 3-year-old child.
So that's the passenger and this is the car.
Although it may not look like your normal car, the bench is designed to replicate the average vehicle.
Unlike the average vehicle, this one's powered by 12 bungee cords. Just like giant rubber bands, you pull them back and let them go.
And it comes hurtling down the track. These spears will go into the holes in the wall here, hitting into these polyurethane tubes. It's designed to replicate that crumpling of the vehicle.
Once the car seat and dummy are in position, the team retreat into the safety of the control room. Then the rig or sled is slowly pulled back inch by inch.
We're putting the sled back to give us a tension which will allow us to fire the sled into the wall at around 50 kilometres an hour. And this is the requirement for the current crash testing regulation.
Ready, set and trigger. It's over in a flash, but slow-motion cameras capture every detail of the action, so the results can be analysed.
It's important that the head in a collision doesn't come in contact with any parts of the vehicle interior, such as the seat in front or the roof. This marker point here is actually the limit for the horizontal travel, and the marker on the top of the sled is the limit for the vertical travel. If the head passes these marker points, then the product would fail the test.
It doesn't, so this is a pass. But they also need to check the readings from the dummy's onboard sensors, which measure the acceleration or G-force that the child experiences.
The limit is 55. If the chest is above that for more than 3 milliseconds, it's likely you'd see some internal injuries to the organs. The acceleration is not reaching close to that limit, so this would be a good result. This would be a pass test.
Next, a visual inspection of the dummy's midriff.
Inside the dummy, we have a clay block, which we use to measure the penetration, or the way the belts cut into the abdomen during the test. And as you can see, there's no cutting into that clay, so this would be a pass test.
So that's one of the typical crash tests currently performed on all car seats in order to comply with the current legal standards. But with the introduction of the new I-size standard, there'll be another test to carry out.
The current standard only looks at forward and rear impacts. 20 to 30% of impacts are of a side impact nature.
Side impact crashes like this one. This footage shows what happens when a car seat doesn't offer full head and neck protection in a side-on crash. So the new test has been designed to fix that. This time the chair and dummy are placed on the rig sideways. Then, just as before, it's a case of wind it up and let it go.
We're looking to see how well the head is contained within the child seat. One of the key things we don't want to see is the head hitting the door structure or on the test rig. If we do see that, it's an ultimate failure.
On this chair, the wraparound headrest keeps the child's head in place, and there's no contact with the side of the car.
Also, one of the key things you'll notice is the side of the child seat is absorbing a lot of that energy during the impact as well. This just softens the blow for the dummy. It meets the regulation standard for the side impact, and the product has passed that test.
Some products on sale now, though, won't pass. And as the new standard is phased in over the next few years, booster cushions which have no sides or backs, for example, are likely to stop being sold altogether.
Ultimately, the introduction of the new regulation is about saving lives. It will make manufacturers bring more advanced products onto the market, ensuring that the child occupant is offered a better level of safety.
If you want more information on the safety of products in your home, you can go to our website, bbc.co.uk/testhouse. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.